So one question I always get asked a lot at this time of year is how to stay sober during warm weather. A lot of people feel triggered by hot sunny days and they really crave alcohol on a nice summer's day. Plus, it can sometimes seem as if everyone else is drinking loads because it's so visible when people are sat outside pubs and bars or in their gardens. Their drinking is literally on display. So, when it comes to feeling good about being alcohol free and staying committed to that at this time of year, there are several different tips I want to share with you today. But the main thing is just to understand that sitting in a pub beer garden or your own garden on a really hot day without drinking alcohol is ultimately nothing more than a sober first. And throughout your first year of sobriety, you have tons of these to deal with. A sober first is just the first time you choose to be alcohol free in a situation where you would normally drink. So it could be anything. It could be the first time you don't drink alcohol in a bar, or the first time you celebrate a birthday sober, or the first time you get on a plane without drinking. All of those kind of things, they are sober first. And they're probably going to feel a bit weird to start with, just because you're breaking a pattern and you're choosing a different behaviour. So you're going to feel it. And it's really normal to have a bit of anxiety around these things to start with. But the good news is, the next time you do that thing, it will feel a bit easier. And the time after that will be easier still, and so on as your confidence grows and you establish a new normal, a new way of doing things. Now you get to practice some things a lot more than others. So, for example, if not drinking on a Friday night is a big sober first for you, well, it's not going to stay that way for very long, because obviously Friday comes around every week. So very quickly that becomes one of those things that you don't really think about. But when it comes to being sober on baking hot sunny days, well, that's different. If you live in the northwest of England like I do, you will know that those kind of nice days don't come around that often. So my first tip is just to acknowledge that choosing not to drink on a really boiling hot day is just a sober first. So it's okay that it feels a bit strange because it's new to you, and that's fine. My second tip is to give everything a fair chance. You can't make a judgment or draw any conclusions based on one experience alone, or that one time ages ago when you went to a barbecue and you didn't drink. You have to do something at least 3 times before having enough information about it. This is why I'm always going on and on about taking a proper break from drinking, so you can give yourself the time to get used to some of this stuff. If you only ever stop from Monday to Thursday each week, you never really make progress on that front. My third tip is to play the movie forward. So if drinking is feeling appealing in a particular moment, think about what it's going to be like in a few hours' time, or at the end of the evening, or in the early hours of the morning when you feel awful and you're wide awake but you can't sleep. If you're watching this video, then you probably drank enough times in the past to know how that movie ends for you. My fourth tip is to get clear on what it is you actually love about those hot sunny days, because it's never really about the alcohol, not really. Giving ourselves permission to just sit down outside and do nothing is actually very enjoyable in its own right. But for many of you watching, I know the only time you let yourself do that is when you're drinking. So then you get this association between drinking and relaxing, when in fact you don't need the alcohol to facilitate that process. For other people, what they really love about those sunny days is just hanging out with their friends and catching up and having that connection. That's fine. You can still have all of that no matter what's in your glass. So just get clear on what's really going on for you. My final tip is to make sure that you have something chilled and enjoyable to drink. do not make do with lukewarm water or flat Diet Coke unless that just happens to be your thing. This is a good time to stock up on some drinks you haven't tried before. Google alcohol-free cocktail recipes and experiment with stuff here. Be proactive. There's never been a better time to be a non-drinker because honestly, the alcohol-free drinks market is just booming at the moment. There's so much stuff out there, so now's a good time to get exploring. So those are my tips for dealing with hot, sunny days and staying sober. And now I'd love to hear what works for you. What helps you stay alcohol-free during warm weather? Scroll down and leave a comment for me because I'd love to hear from you, and I'm wishing you a very happy and hangover-free week ahead.